Welcome to Producing in Pandemic. We always start with our digital communication agreements here on the screen. I'm going to hit stop on this random music we have playing in the background. This music is lo-fi hip-hop radio beats to relax and study to. Literally playing live. I'm going to close that down. And one of our colleagues who's here in the circle with us reminded me that when I am lazy and I just play the music, the Zoom will interrupt my speech. So you'll hear interrupted speech, you'll hear speech and then music. But if you share the sound of the music through your share sound function on the computer, then it actually will be consistent sound along with people giving comments. I'm also going to take this moment. Let's see if I can do this. We're going to see if this works. Yes. I just wanted to share, this is who we are. And this is what we have been doing for a year. Amazing. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of beautiful human beings in several different continents. A bunch of different countries have been gathering. We have been gathering to share the challenges and also to share the discoveries of producing in pandemic. So a year ago, I was connecting with Kholoud Sawaf, who is a producer who's in Arkansas. And we've been chatting about wanting to collaborate on a project anyway. And I said, well, there seems to be some wild stuff happening in the world. How about we get together? And why don't, when we're talking about how to figure this out, why don't we open it up and let anybody come? And that's what we did. And this has been the equivalent of inviting anyone and everyone for a year to come have a conversation about producing in pandemic with us. Just so much gratitude and so much learning over the past year with everyone. Kholoud says hello, and so does Dani Bae. Dani Bae gives their gigantic greetings. One of the big realities that we have always been designing around is that this space is a special space that is both us here live and a larger community that's been participating asynchronously. So just a big shout out and thanks to the people who have been coming back periodically and letting us know that you're actually watching the videos, that you've actually been getting good stuff out of our conversations and sharings. We try to run a real relaxed space. And I use that word relaxed on purpose, like in the disability justice term, in the theater producing terminology. This is a relaxed meeting and learning space. So there's no invitation for you to perform your engagement. There's no need to be on camera if you don't want to. We invite folks to be on camera when they are sharing their story because that helps for accessibility for some folks. But like I said, this is a relaxed space. You participate at your level of comfort and capacity. The point of this space is that it's not a stressor. I want to say 3 months ago, we decided to adjust our meeting time. We've been meeting every Monday at 10 a.m. without a break, y'all. We did it like clockwork. It was amazing. I'm shocked that and every time we did it, Kholoud and I would be like, should we do it again next week? Yeah, okay. Every week. So to create more accessibility, we have now switched our meeting times. So once a week, we meet at 10 a.m. And then the next week we meet at 1 p.m. so that we have a morning slot, an afternoon slot. And this is to create more accessibility. We have a lot of teachers in our group, a lot of parents in our group, a lot of producers in our group, and everybody's lives are super busy. So this is me saying hi, hello to the larger community that is watching asynchronously. We will be uploading this to the YouTube. And this is also me saying hi, hello. Thank you for being with us for a year. It's been a long year, but y'all have been producing amazing stuff. All right, so this was partially me also doing a little intro vamping because the room has been steadily filling. And Rebecca and Heather and I did a little bit of quick math and we said to ourselves, if we end up with like 30 plus people in this space, we want to give time for folks to actually be able to tell the story of what they've been working on. But y'all, this is all we're doing today. all we're doing today is celebrating the past year and telling the story of the successes and the challenges and all of that awesome stuff in the past year. I'm getting so excited just seeing you all populate this space and enter. So we're going to start off in our traditional manner with an introduction, a decolonized introduction. While you'll share your name and your gender pronouns, and where you're coming from, what are you affiliated with, what organizations are you affiliated with, or what's your practice. But now we're inviting you to answer a deeper question, not what's a challenge or discovery this week? What are the big challenges and discoveries this year? We will be treating, as my colleague Tara Moses has shared with me, we'll be treating time as a relative, not a master, but we are all managing our time together. So I'll be keeping an eye on the clock so that we have a chance to hear from everyone. I'm so deeply excited to be hearing from folks. And instead of me modeling to go first, I'm going to invite one of my colleagues to model to go first. One of the other aspects of this space is we share power rather aggressively. So I'm not going to be calling on people, call on yourself. And we invite you to place your name in the chat, and that creates the order that you'll speak in. And that way we also don't have to have long pauses in between folks. Thank you to my colleagues for putting the script of what we'll be saying in the chat. Thank you so much. And I'm gonna, also, we will also put the meeting notes link in the chat so that folks can put your links in there. We love it when you drop your links. We're gonna invite you to drop all your links, drop your stuff, and then we will amplify in other spaces throughout the week. All right. Whoever wants to go first, go right ahead. Welcome to the space.
I guess I can go first because I'm kind of new. Hi, I'm Hani Gonzalez. I'm with Just Power Initiative. We're a nonprofit based in Inwood, Manhattan. Not the city Inwood, but just Upper Manhattan. That's, yeah. I am Venezuelan, but I'm based here since I was, since 4 years ago or something like that, 5 years ago. So it has been fun. My pronouns are she and her. And one of the challenges, the biggest challenges, or the biggest learning things that we have gotten in this producing in the pandemic is just being mindful of the new things that you're going to bring into each one of the productions that you do. Just be mindful of the time that you're going to spend learning, not saying just I cannot do it, I don't know how to do it. You can do it, but just be mindful of the time that it takes to learn it. That's something that even right now, 1 year after, we're still learning stuff. So just that was one of the things.
Hi, everybody. I'm Heather Ondersma, she, her pronouns. Zooming in from the land of the Ohlone people, specifically the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people, colonially known as Berkeley, California. My visual description is I'm a white middle-aged woman with short, finally went to the hairdresser hair last week for the first time in, I don't know, 14 months, and glasses, blank wall behind me. Let's see, I am a freelance director. I'm a beginning intimacy coordinator / director. And I have learned so much this year, so much from so many people, from 10-year-olds who are more tech savvy than I am, from people who've, I find out later, they had this whole other life as a video streamer. I am so grateful for all the learning that I've been able to, that people have given me this year. So thank you. Thank you for everyone in the room and this space. And I'm going to start crying. So check.
Hi, everybody. I'm Alex Mallory, she, her. I am coming in from the land of the Council of Three Fires, the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi, in addition to the Miami, the Ho-Chunk, the Menominee, and others, colonially known as Chicago. And I practiced that so much that I didn't look at what was next. I am currently building a performance lab. It's called the Metal Shop Performance Lab, and trying to build outside of the institution, and which brings up many questions about what that means, trying to value process over product, which is a current challenge as we reach the end of our first workshop session, trying to figure out how to be creating something without needing to be creating towards a deadline, and what that means. I have long curly red hair. For those of you who cannot see me, I have not cut it since August 2019, so that's fun. And I think, yeah, and that's it. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. It's the first time.
Yay. Hi, everybody. Rebecca Pingree. My gender pronouns are she, her, hers. I am speaking to you from the unceded lands of the Yuchi, the Shawanoki Shawnee, and the Cherokee people, which is colonially known as Nashville, Tennessee. I'm in I'm a middle-aged white woman with my kind of pandemic mottled auburn hair tied up into a little like Swiss Miss braided situation, because it is also very long from having not been cut for over a year. Ay, 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 the ends. And I'm wearing a blue top in front of a bright window that I'm trying to place myself in front of so that my camera can handle it, and two little twin beds. My biggest like challenge and discovery has been kind of my relationship to, I'm the co-founder of Analog Theater, and we're going to be doing, only non-digital things. That was meant to be our focus, and we were a theater company that started out in basically January of 2020, and then had to pivot repeatedly to this new paradigm, and for a lot of my life, I've been a performer and an actor, and my relationship to introversion, extroversion has been bizarre, and how it's affected my energy to like understand like both how much now my stamina for like other people, even in this like high anxiety distant way, has like gone way down, but at the same time recognizing that as somebody who thinks of myself as an introvert, but who had so many years of all of this like reliable performing and needing to be around people and networking, and just the way that the part of how I got things done in my life was being fed by that like in person, you can feel the bodies of people not that far away from you, and that trying to stay motivated through all of the things that I want to do in this time has just been a trick, man. So that's been the challenge, and also that after being really crushed at that and all of kind of my hopes for the company that I was working on, to discover the most amazing people that I got to work with because of the situations that we found ourselves in, and discovering that the skills that I use in space, in real space, those kinds of like devising skills and collaboration, to discover all of these new platforms for making that work and being able to document it, and finding, like growing my cohort of people, and just not being able to believe my luck in this group and those other collaborative experiences in the virtual zone. That was long. Apologies. Thank you. Check.
Thank you. I a lot of that resonates with me as a fellow deviser. Yeah. So hi everybody. My name is Alex Meda. I use the pronoun she, her, hers. I'm calling in from the land of the Tongva, here in East LA, Boyle Heights. I am a white Latina. My hair usually is curlier than this, and I'm a large woman, not scared to take up of a large amount of space. So I am man, you're catching me on a week where I have just been breaking out into tears in ways that I've never been used to. And I'm an emotional, vulnerable person. Like I do this work to heal, and yet there's this new well of rage being generated in me in the way I'm hearing theaters talk about coming back, in the way I'm hearing us really only center and privilege audiences and their safety and not the safety of the crews and the artist. And I'm really questioning this idea, like, trust me, I miss theater and I want to be back, and yet I just see so many people getting ready to abandon and throw over all of the learnings and the new, and like we need to give time to also the new to keep growing. So I'm just in this place where I want to give light to all of that and uplift all of that, and also just say, like, I'm also really scared that we're not using our tools to support the coming, quote unquote, coming back process for humans. Like, what is that? Like, we are not understanding the I think the emotional and physical embodied stuff that we could be lending to this whole thing. So those are the challenges I'm sitting with this week, my friends, and I'm happy to be here in this room. Thank you.
I think that's me. Hi friends, my name is Elissa Stebbins. I use pronouns she, her, hers. I am speaking to you from the land of the Ramaytush Ohlone people, colonially known as San Francisco, California. I am a white woman. I have my hair up in a tall bun and a little bright lippy for this special occasion. It goes very well with my checked flannel shirt. I'm sitting in a blue room in front of an orange couch with a quilt on it and a bright window and a little hint of a snake plant over there. Thanks, Julius. I am a co-founder of Analog Theater with Rebecca Pingree, who you already heard from, and have spent most of my time in theater as a performer, as an actor. And this challenge or discovery from this year, I feel like there have been so many, and most of them very personal and personally what I need in this world. And I think the biggest thing that I have learned is that I need more space, even from my art, and that I'm really interested to see how that works moving forward in this world as it moves, maybe not quite so forward. And that has been a big challenge as well. Mostly the challenge around learning that has been sort of the acceptance of space and what happens when I have space in my life. So that's been sort of the biggest thing. As I say it doesn't sound related to theater, but for me, it's very much about my relationship to theater. And I think that's all. Thanks.
That's me, if I can find my microphone. Hey everyone, I'm Gosh. My pronouns are they, them. I am calling in from the land of the Massapequa Lenape people and the other 13 tribes of Long Island, colonially known as Long Island. I am a freelance stage manager. My access needs are being met. I'm having some body aches today, so I might go off camera at some point and do some stretchy while I'm listening. A visual description of myself. I am a white, fat, non-binary person. I have bottom of my ear length, black and green, somewhat faded green hair, wearing a black hooded sweatshirt, and there is a beige wall behind me with some postcards hanging on it. I think I turned off my self view, so I actually am not totally sure what you're seeing, but I think that's it. I hate it. I can't do it. It's so much better when I turn it off. Oh my gosh. So I don't produce a lot, but I've definitely been involved in some digital work in this year. Sabrina's nodding. And one of the things that I think I found myself thinking a lot about and I'm interested in thinking more about is like what feels connected in digital space. what makes digital spaces feel like, just feel like they're connected, and make how can we have more of that? And I've been in some spaces that do accomplish that and don't accomplish that, and so I'm still like craving doing some like really weird immersive like stuff on Zoom that I have not seen anyone doing yet. But if you know of anyone, please let me know. And other than that, I'm also felt very strongly about what Alex said earlier about going back, because I have a summer job lined up and I'm supposed to be in a real in-person theater in like less than 3 months, and that feels completely wild to me. So anyway, it's great to see you all and be back. And that is me. Check.
Hi, I'm Sabrina Hamilton. I use the pronoun she, her, hers. I'm coming to you from the traditional lands of the Pecumtuck and the Nipmuc. The Nipmuc people are still alive. This is an area colonially known as Western Massachusetts. I am a 65-year-old white woman with just below my shoulders length straight white hair. I'm sitting in front of a double door closet, one door open, one door closed. Is that a metaphor? In a peacock colored room. My access needs are met. And I have been to a lot of the sessions of the group this year, and it's had a profound influence on me, helping me to mount a Zoom production last Juneteenth that I'm now working to try to stream again, but with titles for accessibility. And so I just want to build on a little bit on what I was talking about last week, and what some of us were talking about last week, which is moving beyond just a simple capitalist system, but about trades and barter and things of that nature. If there is someone who has expertise at providing titles, I actually have some funding to pay someone to do that work. I also, we're moving online with some workshops this summer at CoFest. It's kofest.com. I'll drop it in the chat and in the notes. We're offering workshops in May and July with Juanita Rockwell called Transforming Your Writing by Resting Your Mind. And it's using contemplative practice, Buddhist contemplative practice. And if there's someone who can do the Zoom hosting, I'd like to trade that for free access to the workshop. So if somebody's interested in that, they can contact me. And there are 2 sessions of that, one in May, one in July, and then there's an advanced session in July also called Transforming Your Writing by Clearing Your Mind. So you rest your mind and then you clear your mind. And then thanks to this group, last season I was supposed to do a season on eco-justice, environmental safety and climate change. Canceled it all. I feel like it's way too early to come back. People are talking about it here. I'm getting, phone calls, and I keep going, but we are going to do 2 shows online having to do with that theme. And because of this group, I think I'm probably going to move beyond the Zoom webinar format and to start use maybe some other platforms in OBS and some other techniques that without this group I would not have done, and then host the live talkback interactive on yet another platform, so that and it's a level of complexity I did not have the vocabulary for earlier this year. The other thing that this group has helped me to think about is what can we do before we can do live theater, which is what I love. And I admit I try to watch as much stuff online as I can, but it's hard. But the thing that's bringing me the most joy these days is mentoring and helping and facilitating and getting out of the way that way. And so we've always had a practice of offering rehearsal residencies at the Co-Festival. And I'm thinking now that there's another kind of residency that we can also be offering, which is an administrative residency. So if people are interested in exploring the idea of an administrative residency, I am starting to do things like that. So that's kind of how I'm thinking, and a lot of it has come from the not just our sessions, but what percolates in me after we have our sessions. Check.
I think I may be next. I'm sorry, Kat was getting into the room. Kat's in a little bit of trouble. It was going on and off video for a second. My name is Julius Ria. My pronouns are he, him. I'm calling from unceded Chochenyo, speaking Ohlone land, Ohlone people, still here, props up. Practice, I am everything and anything. But primarily a theater producer and writer. My affiliation, I am a freelance theater maker. I also work in arts administration for Stagebridge, an arts education company based out of Oakland. I also work with a small theater company that I co-founded called the Forum Collective, and I work with a few people on this call on other stuff. I am a cisgendered Black and Filipino man in a mostly white room with art in the background. And I have glasses on my hair tied back because it's one of those pandemic days. And I am wearing a gray shirt with Reorient on it, from the Golden Thread Productions Reorient Festival, showcasing Middle Eastern and North African theater, new theater work. And the challenge or discovery just from this week, what have you, from the whole thing, Ooh. I don't know, everybody else was saying like some really beautiful stuff, really, really beautiful stuff. I think just echoing some things that other people have already said. A discovery that I found was that I find myself using, that's a loud vehicle outside. Because I'm revving up. So I think that the thing that I think about is using the art as a medium towards a different goal. So it's almost like when I use, and it sucks that you say those words to use, but like when I utilize or produce art, I realize that the end goal is to get people in the room to experience something together, or to get enough people in the room that we can like have an open discussion or to educate. So most of the time, the artistic practice is changing as a way to just get people in one space at one time so that the real work can kind of be done in community. Which is weird to kind of say that, oh, the show or the piece or the theater piece or the whatever is not the end goal. It's only the first step to kind of get the conversations going. So yeah. Oh, yeah, that's it. Access needs met. And I'm done. Check.
I don't know that I can manage those kinds of sound effects, Julius, but it's pretty quiet. I have 7 cats. Let's see if they can make any mayhem in the few minutes I might take to speak. Oh, and that's one of the greatest breakthroughs of the last year, is that the cat that was the most antisocial or asocial purred in my lap for the first time. And she's been, she was born in my home about 6 years ago. So she purred for the first time about 3 months ago, and she's now cuddling and nestling against the others. So, I mean, that's huge. That wouldn't have happened without me being there to nurture and intervene and referee, because you know how multiple cats can be as far as territoriality and things like that. So that's a breakthrough. And I want to say that maybe echoes some of the inner demons that fought it out inside of me, you know, like I think some of them have, you know, come to a sense of peace, or at least they've taken their corner and, you know, given each other space. So I can tell that a lot of interior work has been done, even though I may not have been mentally, consciously fixating on it. I think things have fixed themselves a bit. I'm not as afraid of kitchen appliances and things as I used to be, because I am, you know, the master chef in my own home, as I've had to be. And I think I'm okay with that. And I can rock, you know, NPR news or, you know, music listening as I cook. So, I mean, I've learned all these ways of being in order to not feel like I need to rush back to the computer and, you know, keep producing or keep writing. So I've had to balance out in a way that makes me feel safe. Tammy Gomez is my name. She, hers are my pronouns. And I am based in what the redneck cowboys around here call Fort Worth, Texas, AKA Cowtown, AKA Panther City, AKA where the West begins. I live 10 minutes away from where Tatiana Jefferson was murdered almost 2 years ago by a cop, a former cop. And, you know, it's a very, you know, contested space where I live. And it's the homeland, the unceded land of the Comanche, the Wichita, and the Waco people and affiliated tribes. And they're not going away, they're here, even though they're not acknowledged by name, except by me, probably, in the entire city of almost 1 million people. Yeah, so that points me to the fact that I'm feeling a lot of angst and kind of preparatory grief about the moment when we close the laptop and say, okay, I'm out in the world again. What do you have for me, home city? And when one lives in a kind of culturally bereft place, you know that, you know, your tribe is small, your people, your cohort is small when you're out in the physical realm. What I've learned in the last 12 months is that my cohort, my peeps, are limitless, infinite, because I've been in meetings and groups and gatherings like this, and it's been so uplifting. And I've learned I've made connections with so many folks in different regions that I could not physically access and never will be able to physically access. And I'm already mourning the loss of connections like that. And I'm trying to speed up this thought process before I stop thinking about it and just go hang out at the burger place or have beers and, you know, do the normal, which I don't want that. I don't want that. Is how to maintain the connections with folks who are geographically distantly located, and how to maybe keep producing or start producing with them and continue the conversations. I don't want these Monday gatherings to go away, you know, I don't, because you offered a really great platform for people that wanted to learn. And I've talked this up constantly when I've been in interview process or in online gatherings where people wanted to know, what are you learning? What are you doing, Tammy? And I say, you've got to join these meetings on Monday if you're interested in producing, and or just learning about how people can do non-hierarchical organizing among themselves around the idea of sharing our ideas professionally or not professionally on stages and alternate spaces. That's so important to me. I started keeping a spreadsheet of all of the performances I attended, virtual performances, because it was so amazing. And I was writing notes and I thought, who would commission somebody like me to write reviews of online virtual performances? I want to be that person. Taking notes, using the snipping tool to take photos. I've become very adept at watching, but also, you know, doing little screen grabs and, doing nice compositions, you know, of like, I want to hone in on that aspect of what I'm seeing on the screen and taking notes and, following up if there's interviews, Q&A, staying in touch with those folks, reaching out to them, or sharing the YouTube, links, the URLs, if the performances are documented, and telling peeps on social media, you missed this live, virtually live, but it's, you know, the document was saved, and I highly recommend it for 1, 2, 3 reasons. And, you know, I think there's a role for that kind of continuation of work, because people who are, you know, can't get around because of physical limitations or differences. People like myself, I don't own a car by choice since 2008. I've seen shows in Chile, Argentina, I mean, everywhere. And I like those peeps, and I like the shows that they produce, and I want to keep attending. I want a front row seat. When you're sitting in front of the screen watching a virtual performance, you've got a front row seat. And yeah, I didn't know where this would take me. Oh, what I look like? Oh my God, I have like a blue windbreaker, which I've worn at least, you know, 3 of the last 5 days, probably slept in it 2 nights. And yes, I did survive the polar vortexis disaster that happened in February. It was pretty horrific, but I decided to sleep in my back room closet, because I thought that would be a way to kind of, you know, capture the heat that you know, could possibly occur. I live in an old building. A lot of us live in these sieves or colanders that aren't well insulated. So it was in this room I'm in now, the high was 37 degrees for about 3 or 4 days in a row. So I was sleeping in my closet in the back room. I made a little, you know, pad, and I decided to shoot a couple of videos in Zoom and then share it to YouTube. They were just kind of my, you know, reports from the closet during the polar Arctic blast, which we're still recovering from. I don't know if I've put Sarah to sleep. I don't know if I put anybody to sleep, but I'll stop talking. Sorry to do that, but you look so sweet. You look like one of my kittens nestled on the bed. So that was all done with sweet intent, by the way. I don't know if I've neglected to, you know, visual description. Yes, the jacket, the hair, which is down to my knees, I haven't cut in 15 years. I don't plan to cut it anytime soon for nobody, unless I'm doing a performance, in which case I'll just reach for a hat, or the purple wig is pretty handy at times. I've been hosting not an open, but like a curated poetry series, monthly Dando Poets program. I hosted, one of my favorite things I hosted was last June, when the ex-president decided he wanted to do something in Tulsa on Juneteenth, and we're like, heck no. So I decided to create a counter event, which I called the Tulsa Take Back Hour. And that was 1 hour of kind of self-healing. And we read like the history of the Tulsa massacre. So we did a group reading of that, and many of these things that I've learned from you, Claudia. So hats off to you. These tips of the, you know, tricks of the trade, the evolving trade. Thank you very much to all.
Oh, I get so much pleasure and joy out of learning from my colleagues. And I don't know why I didn't start this practice at the beginning of my career. This is me telling all young people, just have a practice where once a week you open up your room and say, hey, who wants to come learn with me? Let's just learn together. Let's just exchange what we're doing as we're learning together. You know, I recognized that I was going to have to enter into a new learning space, and that's hard for me as a grown adult, successful person who feels like I've done a lot of design work to become competent in the spaces where I physically produce. And of course, my story is a weird one because I had already started a transmedia practice, and I was actually trying to do some really intentional decolonized design work. And it was specifically because I was like, oh, there's huge opportunity here. It's partially commodified, but like the larger field doesn't see this digital space is like the main space, the contested ground that we have to be producing in. So I was like, oh, I'm going to do this 5-year process where I create these beautiful rhizomatic structures, slow growing relationship, organic, and then a year into that process, boom, the pandemic hits, and every commercial theater goes, hey, Claudia, where are you working? I'm going to work there. Let me colonize your territory. Let me make it more expensive for you to do everything. Let me make the space that you're in, that was marginalized space, dominant culture space. And now it's going to be harder and more complicated to produce your work with the unions are now going to be looking at it in very specific ways that are about money exchange. The platforms are actually going to recognize there's an audience, and they are going to get all of their ducks in a row to lock themselves into place, get their algorithms to kind of start doing the same thing and trigger performers and audience to start behaving in these very unnatural, unhealthy ecologies. So I've been feeling for the past year a little frustrated, actually, as I've seen spaces where I'm like, I see what you're doing. I see all you individual theaters, instead of doing what I think is the smart move, what would have been the really good move, what would have been the real survival move for the whole field, for them to talk to each other and create digital spaces that are open and accessible to larger groups of people. But no, everybody has to serve their own commercialized model, and they're creating their own bespoke digital platforms that are not universally accessible, that require more labor on the part of us as content creators, as cultural producers, as artists. We're creating an infrastructure, an ecosystem that has so many additional hoops to jump through, so many additional gateways and thresholds to have to be allowed through by some gatekeeper. I don't like it. So it brings me so much joy and pleasure to be producing spaces like this, to be producing spaces that are anti-capitalist, that are about, we're exchanging our knowledge, and you don't have to pay money to get to this knowledge, and you have to pay each other money to have access and relationship to each other. I will name that I think I didn't realize that y'all would be so magnificent and vital and amazing. And I feel kind of dumb saying that. I should have realized that when you gather huge groups of people from all over the country, and they're good at what they do, they're going to be producing amazing exchanges. So I'm going to take a quick moment to go to the amazing spreadsheet that tells the story of our last 50 sessions. I'm not going to tell the story of all 50 sessions, but I thought I'd name a couple of things that y'all did together. Would that bring you joy and pleasure? Actually, let me check in. Would you like to hear what y'all been doing? All right, I'm going to do this exercise then. Woo! So y'all, we've had human beings joining this space from Central America, all over the United States, from Canada and the United States. In the UK, yes. We have had, I actually haven't done the math of the number of people who've attended our sessions, but the biggest number was over 60. So sometimes it's a tight group of 10, sometimes it's up to 60 folks. We talked about the Toronto Poetry Slam. We talked about Zoom bombing, the different ways we'd be ticketing. We looked at some of the different platforms like Twitch. There's some folks who started to collaborate together with the Bay Area Women's Festival. There was this amazing Veterans Open mic. Thank you to Andrea Saf for coming and presenting on that. Christina Wong came and told us all about the Aunties Sewing Squad, and also allowed us to see how she was producing her entire one-person show from her place. Peter Kuo came, presented on Love and Warcraft and video theater. We also learned about Snowflakes, Rare White People. That was a radio play. I need to go faster than this. So more awesome shows that we explored that were on Twitch. Y'all allowed us to fully cancel a session and pivot to do racial justice work. That was amazing. We did user experience design learnings. Folks came back and shared all of the amazing racial justice theater producing they had been doing online around Juneteenth. We shared a lot in various sessions around safe sets, the film guidelines, safe gathering protocols for sports, safe gathering protocols for different theater communities. And we actually had people come and present on how they were creating safety. So Kholoud did an entire presentation on how Curbside Theater was creating guidelines for safely producing theater in physically shared space. We launched our Discord. Folks started coming. We've been sharing stuff on the Discord. We did an amazing OBS class where we had African-American teacher from Seattle and a teacher from Canada came together. They'd never worked together, and they co-presented like a 3-hour OBS 101 presentation. That was amazing. And it was presented at Pay What You Can. So like Some people were like, I got nothing. Can I just learn? We were like, yeah. And some people were like, I got something. Can I pitch it in? We were like, yeah. And then I'm just going to shout this out, shout out for equity. Those two folks, we said, hey, what do you want from this? Because we're anti-capitalist. What do you want from what people have offered? One person said, you know what? I got a professor type job at this university. My bills are paid. I don't need this money. And it all went to the Black digital producer. Shout out for equity. Shout out for the community and the vibe and the way you all manifest this stuff, because you manifested learnings all over the country and economic justice and racial justice. I love it. We had Sabinna Unni come share stuff from Fresh Lime Soda. We had folks, we did an entire session on fighting Zoom fatigue. We had a host of people come in. We checked out Live Lab. We checked out Kiko. We had somebody share the entire play they produced from their home using only cell phones and Wi-Fi. That was Curbside Theater showing us stuff. We learned a lot from a lot of the different convenings and conferences that have been produced. Some of us were actively working on those conferences, producing those conferences and convenings and women's theaters festivals. And oftentimes those learnings were being brought back into the space. So just shout out for learnings brought from TCG, learnings brought from USITT, learnings brought from Build, Fools Furies Build. San Francisco Shakespeare came and shared their the awesomeness of digitally bringing people together into a digital space. That was fascinating. Some Don Reyes came in, shared a lot about in full color. We had our wild test session in Zencaster. That was super fun. We've talked about what is it to be a stage manager in digital space. We did some field trips also to spaces like Meet Eye to Eye and GatherTown. We had some folks come and present and tell us what it's like to produce theater on the platform Clubhouse. And that pretty much brings us to today. We did a lot of stuff. I could keep talking, but that was me attempting to say, hey, in the last year, you co-produced shows together. You actually gave each other jobs and exchanged income. You taught me a lot, and we also learned a lot together. Whew, that was a lot. I'm a hush now. And anybody want to just popcorn reflections, memories, go right ahead. I'm gonna get a drink of water after I said all that.
Wow, I came so late. Oh my gosh, that could have been so much easier for me. I honestly have to say that it, but from everybody speaking, I was like, oh, I took too little, I think. And I realize right now that we did a lot of stuff too in so quickly because we needed to attend to a community that had to be served. Not that needed, it just had to be served. A lot of kids from our community and children from our community are either on the poor side or low income, and they're struggling families. One of our families had 3 children that are attending to our programs online, but then they also have 2 more. They didn't have any internet. It was a nightmare. They didn't have food at some point. Mom and dad didn't have jobs, so we found a way to not only support them with the program but also with food through New York Presbyterian, with internet through other community organizations. So what I can say is 3 things actually. The first thing is, I don't know why, but being an immigrant, here in this country, and thinking about all the hoops and improvisation that I have to do, I think it served us well. My family, to just adapt, because we are constantly adapting to everything, but that's not easy for everyone. So my experience allowed others to learn from it and to say, oh, this is not that bad. We can survive it. We can, if she could do it in some sort of ways, through my story that I now appreciate and it's dear to me, it's just a learning experience that they can take in and say, okay, I can do this. I'm not going to think about, oh no, this is like this new thing, da, 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 da. just I can't do it. The second thing is something that my boss was talking about, that because he's a jazz artist, they are used to improvising, you know? So it kind of served the same way, you know, improvising, adapting really quickly, fairly, you know, thinking about an idea, saying, okay, this is possible if, you know, these are the conditions. That's really, really important. If you can say, yes, I can do this job, but I need this person, I need, you know, this money. Okay, maybe that, you know, negotiating all that stuff. And then the third thing is that the artists are so important for everybody, I think, and you have to take care of them, you know, and appreciate them and pay them well, because they struggled a lot. I'm in the management position. I like to think of me as a failed artist, but no, just kidding. But a very good, you know, manager person. So, and that's something that came from my boss. Really take care of your artists, because they're gonna take care of you. Take care of your community, because they're going to take care of you. The partnership that were created, you know, the collaborations that were created, that was really important too. So it's, those are the kind of the three things that we produce a lot of stuff, you know. The youth workshop came from that. The intergenerational jazz power jams online, that came from that, which were it started like the artists recording themselves in their own homes. Some of them just you know, they were struggling to record themselves because they were not a tech savvy folks. But then others produced this like two ways, you know, one with the trombone and one with the violin, and it was amazing, the piece that they created. And then, you know, having interviews with the artists, that was really fun, because that brought them together in a place that you felt like you were so apart from each other. So that was really cool, you know. And it's still happening, and I don't think it's gonna go away for some reason. I know that there's gonna be live events and stuff, but we know now that we can connect with, you know, a bunch of people that are sharing the same experiences, or different experiences, but we can learn from, you know. And I didn't know that that was possible. Or maybe yes, but you know, not that's, it's just making it simple, like you're saying, decolonizing everything, just breaking that barrier, and just, you know, taking that in as a space that you can join. So I'm gonna shut up now.
I love listening to someone and being like, yeah, and then at the end you do the same thing I do, which is, and now I'm going to be like, I feel I've been saying too many things, and I will stop awkwardly. We were loving everything you were saying. I'm so I can't. Well, I'll say a couple of things. One is, I wasn't sure if we should continue with this exercise of meeting every Monday now that we've been doing this for a year. I honestly was like, is it time to sunset? Is it time to transition? People's lives have been shifting. That said, I'm still learning every single week. I'm still learning about, like this week, it was all about click-through rate and looking at the different ways the algorithms are gaming each other, and looking at the Twitch affiliate status, and then recognizing that that is actually a producer trap, and I need to figure out some other stuff. So like, I still want this room to continue. So Tammy, thank you for saying that you continue to find this space valuable, but I'm curious about how we want to use it in the future.
Well, I, for one, feel that there's a need to have a, you know, like a aggregate or a place to aggregate shows that are happening in virtual spaces, so that we you know, we give recommendations to each other, and then you know, just to let also people know like how many are free, and which ones are ticketed with a required fee, so that people can, you know, figure out what they can attend and not attend. And I think that's one service that can be provided. But also, you know, the things that we learn as we're still growing on, you know, creating media online and offline. I think that's useful. Also, people's reactions to being in the real world, away from Zoom and virtual platforms. I think people might have a sense of what is it called, like, you know, a withdrawal and what that's like, and it'd be nice to say, hey, we're still here. If you're having withdrawal symptoms, we're still here. You can meet with us. We're friendly. We don't bite. And you know, that might be of some value to folks. Oh, another thing I was just thinking as Jenny was speaking, and that's the idea that I feel like I've taken on more agency, because when you enter a virtual space, especially if you're in a breakout room during a conference, you know, you have 2 minutes to, you know, do your, it's not elevator speaking, but you're just trying to show who you are in very, very little time. And I'm wondering if younger people, elementary, middle school, you know, junior high, high school, especially like females or folks who are considered, you know, less representative of, you know, the norm, or, you know, regulars or whatever, if they have gained agency by being in virtual spaces where they have to speak up and really assert themselves in a way that they don't feel like they have to do so much when they're sitting in a classroom at a desk. And if people who've gained those kinds of, you know, grown that sense of agency, and I'm going to assert my voice now because I have to, otherwise teacher doesn't know that I'm awake or what have you. If they lose that, what does society lose if people just kind of slip back into, you know, I'm the, you know, I'm the shy, withdrawn minority female in the back who doesn't get heard very much. I used to be loud when I was virtual, but now I'm in the classroom. So I remember how I used to be, and I was really quiet and I just spoke when called upon. You know, that's kind of interesting. I studied psych, so that's the kind of thing I ruminate about.
Sorry, I rose my hand because I was like slow to get to my unmute button. I don't want this to totally go down the path of education, but I have 3 kids, and I've been in the room for a lot of my youngest kids' meetings, and it's really interesting. And I also like those, man, it is tricky. So the youngest one, it's like, because she tells me, oh, I was in like, she told me this is my worst idea of a breakout room. This kid, because he never has anything to offer. This kid, because she's so shy. She's the youngest one in our class. And she loves that kid, but that kid really seems like she's the youngest kid in the class. Like it's really, she's a little out of her depth. And like that breakout room environment is the worst for that kid. You know, and so she had like just this last week, she finally got into that algorithm happened, and she was in her like nightmare of a breakout room, because it just meant that there was nothing there, you know, people not turning their cameras on and people just being too shy or whatever. Those breakout rooms are intense. I mean, I almost feel like they really amplify the ones who've always been sort of leaders in the class, and they suppress the kids that have had a harder time you know, and her, this secret, her particular teacher too, I heard it this morning, like, can ignore the kids, you know, it's so hard for the teachers, so ignore the ones that are not as forthcoming and single out, you know, the old dependables who are always ready to offer their stuff. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't want to hijack away from what we're, you know, but it is related, and it is like, we've got a year of these kids who've all had that very intense relationship with their peers and with their teachers in this other way. Even the performing arts kids, they don't want to turn their cameras on.
No, this is so real. I'm just recalling being in graduate school and being in a classroom on pedagogy and performance, and reflecting on how almost all of my teachers had not actually learned how to teach me, and were doing it in ways that were really just counterintuitive, negative, suppressive, and realizing, oh, this actually takes study and design and thoughtfulness for physically shared space. Now that was me, what, like 15 years ago in grad school? I'm very concerned because none of the people who are holding space as teachers have been thoughtfully thinking about how do you design accessible, equitable learning space digitally. And I do think that theater people, we've been thinking about it more and we're figuring it out faster. Gosh, I feel like you were about to share something. I don't remember what it was, but I was leaning into it.
Thanks, Claudia. Yeah. I was trying to get back there. But I think you had sort of talked about what this space can be going forward. And I just, I definitely hear some interest in talking about, how do we have some like agency and control over this reentry into like hybrid spaces or non-digital spaces. And like I'd love to be a part of a session on that and talking about some of the things that Alex brought up earlier. And then, as like people, I mean, everyone's saying digital is not going away, but as people migrate back to like in person, or as the balance shifts a little bit in a different direction, like how do we reclaim parts of the space, or like how, you know what I mean? Like how do we, when people stop focusing as much on digital, like are there opportunities to change, to push that back towards sort of more of a less of a push some of the capitalism out and you know what I mean? I'm just a question, just an idea, but I think there's a lot for us to keep learning, and I'm happy I can be back.
Julius, I see that you have a hand up. You go right ahead. You know I don't call on folks. Y'all just unmute yourselves. Have a conversation.
I honestly, I knew that. I knew that right when you unmuted yourself to say that, and I was like, oh my God. Oh, bye, Tammy. Oh, I'll send the contact information to you somehow. I will get that to you.
Put it on the Discord.
I'll put it on the Discord. I'm gonna get on the Discord. All right, cool. I have been watching some of the or not watching, but like I've not been in the room, and I have to like state that. I've been honestly working with Rebecca Pingree so much that I've been reaping everything that has been happening inside of the room. And I guess it's a question to the group if it's been covered this past year. But I'm really worried about current university students in theater. I'm really worried about them because before, I mean, Sabrina, looking at you, like there wasn't a lot of discussion in many programs about how to be an arts administrator or how to be an arts producer. And I just wonder if we are all really worried about like what it means to come back in physical space. What does it mean for the students who are learning what that art form is? So I just wonder if there are any opportunities to at least invite, not like students into the room necessarily, but the people who are trying to like, I mean, I look at everybody in the room and everybody's like established theater makers. Do you know what I mean? Like we're thinking about it and we're processing it after years and years and years of working inside of this industry. And I just wonder what the conversation is like, or what teachings could be translated to people who are just starting to develop those things inside of their practice. So yeah, just a question for the group.
I love it. I also think that we have a lot of young people in the scene who are getting trained into the logics of online platform content creation and distribution, which is so onerous. It reminds me of like being like way back in the day, being an early career artist in New York City and just accepting really unacceptable living conditions and ways of my art being extracted. Cause I was like, well, I want to be an artist. That's what you have to do. I feel like we have an entire generation that's being taught to serve a TikTok algorithm for free. And I'm like, y'all, we need to teach you how to create an ensemble, not as sole content creators serving an algorithm and a corporate machine. We need you to work in an ensemble and name your value and negotiate for your value. I would like to think that some of our conversations are going to be about what setting what the what the new reality should be, like like setting like what the what are we willing to stand for, what are we not willing to stand for. I like the idea of us writing that reality, not dominant culture.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Claudia. It is nefarious. It is nefarious. Like our parent, generations back, people worried about radio poisoning somebody's mind, TV poisoning somebody's mind, or the wrong book or comics. Remember how comic books, that was like, oh my God, they're going to the pool hall and buying comics. They're like poisoned. But man, TikTok, my children have like, holy cow, we have to have conversations about cultural appropriation. And like, what do you mean you can't put your own music in there? What are you talking about? Like, why don't you do it to this old song? Oh, because that song's not like, I can't use that song. Oh, yes, you can. Oh, it's bad news. Why are all of you guys, why are you and all your friends taking pictures in basically lingerie and you're 14? What is up with that? I mean, and younger. I mean, in our house, it's the 14-year-old who's in the lingerie. And why is your mouth open? Don't you know what that means? Your mouth is open, you're in lingerie, you're sending, I mean, and that's my kid. And I'm like, come on. I'm like,
I think that there's some powerful creative things happening in the world, where you'll have like a 13-year-old in their bedroom. They'll be like, I have an idea for something funny and cute to do. And they do it. And then 300 people copy it. I do love the sort of viral nature of storytelling and the way it sort of democratizes who gets to curate, who gets to prompt performance. I just think that the corporate machine that's in the middle of that transaction is making some choices on our behalf that are racist and sexist and are about serving commercial ends, which I resent and don't like. But there is something about that I do like about these young content creators making stuff. But yes, there's a new media literacy that we need, new conversations we need to be having. Why does a 10-year-old have a ring light? That's hilarious, Julius. Here's the thing, though. I think that we're also entering a scene, and we might want to have a conversation about this in the future, about what are the basic necessities an artist needs to have to actually be able to be an artist. Like it used to be, I just needed a pair of shoes and a pair of pants and a black shirt. And now I need a bunch of equipment and the ability to use it, and to be located in an area that has the infrastructure that will allow me to access the internet. I see that hand clap, Alyssa. I'm going to actually invite us to do some closing remarks, closing thoughts, and then whoever wants to hang out is invited to hang out as we plan our next session for next week. Because like I said, we share power rather aggressively. So we're like, yeah, stick around. We're just planning the next session. Come work with us. But yeah, any final thoughts, closing ideas about this next year? I'm committed to doing this for another year, y'all. I'm committed to doing this until it feels like it's not necessary. So yeah, what are we trying to learn in this next year?
I think education has to be the focus of this year. Education on social media, education on how to be an artist in, surviving in the attempt to do it in the virtual world. Education, because it was left a little bit to everybody to find out how to do it probably. And most of us, well, I don't know, a few of us are still struggling to like get ahead and say, okay, this is going to work for this is going to work for that. We have to teach our children how to use it effectively and how to not be like entangled like slaves to presenting an image to the world that is not theirs. It's just, whatever is fashionable, or what is glittery, and it looks good, but it's not them. It's not really them, because they are creative and they know how to do stuff that most of us, we don't know how to do it. So just exploring that education side of it all, I think that would be kind of what I would focus on for the next year.
I love that. And I also like one of the biggest things that I have been in going back and watching, working on kind of an indexing project for like past episodes of this, where like going back and like starting from the beginning and like kind of taking notes on the earliest sessions of this group. One of the things that like strikes me again and again is the value of the check-ins for me, because there is a thing that happens when I'm listening to people check in, especially in this time of feeling so unmoored in so many ways from the normal reality that I used to have, that people will say things that I'll immediately like really identify with, but that I won't have identified in my life prior to that moment. And so they'll say something and I'll like go like, oh God, I really understand that. And then I'll be like, wait, is that what's going on with me? And it's like, oh yes, that is what's going on. And then suddenly I have like language for it and I feel more equipped to like either accept that struggle that I'm navigating or whatever in a way that I wouldn't know how to go looking for it explicitly, or I wouldn't know how to ask for it from somebody. It's just putting myself in a space where I think, because we're all theater people, there's just a lot of honesty that's incredibly refreshing in a space that's so curated for people to be like putting on their best whatever. And that alone, even on days that I'm just like, God, I'm so tired, but I know that I love this, so here I am. And then within like 5 minutes of just listening to other people check in, I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna improve my whole week, just having heard where other people are. And so just the value of people who I respect so greatly, even as I like suddenly I'll be like, I've known you online for 2 minutes, and I'm just like, you're amazing, and also I feel that way is so it's so lovely to have something so positive just coming out of what is a relatively small commitment in my week. And all commitments of any size are just so hard no matter what. But so yeah, just the value of the check-ins alone, and then there's all this other productive stuff that we do that's amazing, but those alone have been amazing for me. So just the continuance of that with whoever's here whenever that happens for me.
I love that so much, Rebecca. I feel like that's been very true for me too. And part of my excitement about being in this space is that every space that I've entered, I feel like I gain new vocabulary for myself and for how I enter the world. And I have to make the time to show up. But when I do, I get that and I get to like grow so much. And I actually think I have grown so much in this past year because of the different people and spaces that I've been able to enter in that I didn't have access to before, or, we didn't have these kind of wonderful spaces. And for the next year, I think for me, the thing is, how do I uphold anti-capitalist values and still survive as an artist? Period. I'm excited to explore that in some way, shape, or form with you all.
I love that, Alex. Like, yes. I am thinking about how we can focus on essentializing, like I don't even want to say repackaging. These are all the wrong words. But what I don't think we still were able to accomplish this year that I would like us to look at over the next year is how to reintroduce theater to the general public and not theater for theater artists as a field, and essentialize that work and make that case. And how do we do that with these new tools and this new ethos through an equity lens? Yeah.
I am hoping in the next year to witness or at least experience pieces of more awesome art. I'm only one person. I only have so many computer devices, and I can only audience for maybe 2 things at the same time successfully. Not really. So it brings me so much joy and happiness when y'all go see amazing things and then bring those experiences back. It really does bring me so much joy and happiness to get to see the amazing creative stuff people are producing in these transmedia formats. All right, my beautiful, beautiful gathering of human beings. As I said, I'm going to close us down a little early today to give us a little bit of extra time for planning the next session. Thank you so much for coming back. Y'all have been in and out over the past year. It's been amazing. Again, I'm saying hello to the asynchronous audience out there. Thank you for remaining alive and for keeping producing all of the work that you're producing. You are necessary, and I am honored to get to share space and to learn from y'all. All right, I'm gonna hit stop on the recording now. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Nice to meet you all. Thank you.